Hello, hello, hello. My name is Sean Richardson. Um, this is my recording for my GDM 6 final presentation of my game. So the first thing we were asked to talk about was an introduction and the back was in the background. I didn't want to write a whole lot on these prompts, but I set out the semester in class with the intentions of challenging myself. This led to my decision to attempt to make a 2D game from scratch with no built-in assets from the Unity store. I felt this was the best way to test myself and give me the chance to grow as a developer. Um, to expand on this a bit, I think we've talked about this in the past, but all of my stuff that I have done has been in a 3D form, and most of the time I would use the pre-built uh, 3D asset from the Unity store, which would come with the built-in character model and the movement system, and it made it easier to do stuff just because that's one less thing I had to build myself, and it helped, you know, helped that I had a working movement system. Um, so let's see. So concept of the game and the mechanics. The concept was just a tower defense game. Um, the thing I wanted to try and do compared to the ones that I've seen, that balloon defense game or balloon tower game, I forget what it's called, where the whole idea is that you play around and then you'll then get your player engagement by upgrading towers or moving towers around, placing towers, that kind of stuff. I wanted the player engagement to be throughout the entire game. We did this by the energy in the credit system. So in here we have credits, we have time, and then the energy bars. So as these towers fight the enemies, the player will get credits. The player will then go to the home base and charge themselves 4 credits, and then they have to decide what turret they would like to spend credits on. Another way you spend credits is by shooting, which I hope to demonstrate near the end. So that's the main concept and mechanics of the game. The development process was as followed. I basically decided on the tower defense game because it seemed like a feasible thing. I didn't really want to do a platformer game, which probably also could have been in my wheelhouse. I wanted to stick on one scene and have it be stationary so I could work on other stuff. So in the development process, I made the initial map, which was just a green square, pretty much. And then the assets like the player, the towers, the bullet prefab, and that kind of stuff. So the features I implemented were as followed. The enemy point-to-point movement. So if we go to the waypoints, which you basically help me build, but each one of these things has waypoints. So it'll go from here to here to here to here until it gets to the thing, and that's how the enemy figures out its pathing. We created spawners. I created spawners with extra enemy prefabs. So something we had to do was we had to make enemy fighters 1 and 2 along with the enemy fighters so that I could get them each to spawn out of a different spawner. We created multiple scripts. I think this might be the most scripts I've made in one go, which was pretty cool. Trying to get them to work together. Those basically included the turret and player shooting, the player action handling, which just basically was the player movement script, but handled everything that the player did. and then I decided to add a bunch of lines of code to different to different one of these things that help at the end to help with charging. The last thing I added in the development process was the health remaining, the time, the credits, and then at the end there's a second canvas that shows you game over, how many enemies you killed, how many credits you generated, and then your you still have your time at the end. Yeah, challenges. Main challenges I faced was unneeded pressure that I put on myself, which is something we've talked about in length, like student to teacher. That when I tend to do stuff that I'm not comfortable with, I'm not happy sitting idly, which happens sometimes if I'm stuck. So I tend to move on to something else, and when I do, I end up with a lot of things that are broke, which could complicate things in the future. But as I wrote in the other project we did, or the other assignment we did, that I felt like comparing myself freshman year or the sophomore year when I started this stuff to now, I feel like I at least brought problems that I've tried to fix myself instead of like, hey, can you just do this for me? If that makes sense, which I felt like I did a lot, which isn't the right way to think about it. I also had some problems that I felt like I took on more things my senior year, which made me think about class a lot less. Like I had my my musical that I was a part of. We just won our Division II national championship for Rocket League, which I spent a lot of time practicing and stuff. And as I write here, I know it's not a really good excuse for putting this class on a back burner, and I should have been. That's something that I struggled with, was finding time to give this an actual all my focus. Special features that I have for the game when compared to other tower defenses is, as I said before, the player engagement. Most games in the genre, basically their player engagement is between games, pretty much. Like you will do a wave, and then you'll upgrade a turret, or you'll place another turret, and then you'll press a button, and then the round goes, and then it just runs around for you. I put that my player engagement requires the player to dictate how the game will be played, so they could I was hoping to be able to place more towers, which could have been more fun. I think that would have been a lot more invasive than I thought it would have been when I first thought about it. The other special features was the energy system, which I plan to show a little bit, where you're charging turrets, managing their charges, and then another feature is that I made a simple script that where the code checks the timer, and every minute it increases the speed of the enemy, and will slightly increase their health. So as the game goes on, it's going to require the player to make more decisions to shoot and help their turrets compared to only charging. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm hoping this isn't too loud. Can I see if I can turn it down? Because it was very loud the last time I did this. Point 3. So other things I added was the laser shot, pretty much. As I said, the player gets credits, use those credits to charge themselves, and then they'll go and charge each turret. making sure that they can keep firing. And they also can shoot themselves. But yeah, that is my final project. I want to say that I appreciate everything you've ever done for me, and that this was a lot of fun to be a part of. Thank you for your time.